to Judith. Boom. Okay, so they'll be here in a minute. Yeah, it was weird. I woke up today and I always go to my memories so I can share anything that's relevant. And where is it? Yeah. It was at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
1 year ago. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. It's not the first time that's happened either with you. So,
Yeah,
okay, let me.
okay. Did you go in?
I'm going to go in and I'm going to tag you on it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to tag you while we get people in here. People are very excited that you're coming on today. Okay, let's see here.
Well, I must say, I have come like light years since last year. It's just like everything has just gone in a totally realm.
Of course, I read and share your post and some of your videos. I've been playing excerpts from our talks and some of your individual videos as I'm developing a channel feed. And yeah, you just, well, last time we talked before the Soulogy Fest, well, not when we talked privately, but the last time we did a show, yeah, you were already like coming out like a warrioress. Of course, then you visited me with that group of women and all that stuff happened to me. But yeah, you've been just taking off. You're just like, you're inspiring everybody. And even like the engagement, because I watch everybody's stuff just because it's what I do. But like the engagement of people coming to you now is just exploded. Have you noticed that?
Well, the thing is, everything has exploded, and the thing is also we are in a new dimension. There's no doubt about it. You know, it's it's a totally new world now that's opening up in so many things, and to me that is just the gift of this time. You know, everything is just lifted into a totally new dimensional state. We're just not in the same framework that we were before. Although some are still living out that because they choose to live it out. And it's also the soul lessons that come in. You know, some, have got more difficulty letting go than others have. You know, it's almost like some are sort of betwixt the world. You know, they're not quite in the new, and they're also not quite out of the old. And that is why all this old stuff is coming out, and all the muck and whatever the world has got now to resolve or brings, it's like the spotlight is put on everyone. And the thing is, it's bringing everybody back to self. Because the whole universe is in you, the whole of a divine is within you. And it's literally highlighting everything within you that you have not loved and owned within yourself. And the thing is, the world reflects that back to you. So it's almost like, okay, whatever is that the spotlight is shone upon and is literally highlighting within you that is really pushing your buttons, then you should actually ask yourself, okay, why is it still pushing my buttons? And often, the thing is, you must remember that this comes now in patterns, not only in your ancestral patterns, but also in the patterns of behavior of your family through many generations. Also the behavior of human beings in all situations. And I love it so beautifully because as these come out, you can dissolve it. You can finally return to say, okay, I have that within me. I've got the shadow as much as the light. But I now embrace both my shadow and my light, knowing both have served me. And as soon as you do that, you get back into balance. And when you're back in balance, you immediately start getting into the higher field. It's so much. And the thing is not to get involved if that shadow is there. But people get pulled back into the shadow. Mm-hmm. But the thing is to step out of the shadow and move into the light of the truth of who you are. And it comes back to self-love. If you can't love yourself into the deepest shadow and the highest light, you cannot love anybody else in the same degree.
You just said everything that's happened in the last 2 months and in 4 minutes. God, you said a lot, but you were right on the money. And listening or reading your post, I mean, I got to tell you, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, not just your post, but I pay more attention to your post. They were downright scary. I don't mean in a bad way, but it was talking about how deep we were going and the impact it would have on our lives and relationships and other types of connections. And everywhere I turned, including my own relationship with Morgan, I mean, wow. I mean, we haven't really talked about it, and we're still working through it like everybody else is, staying open and owning our own stuff. But wow, what a mess. What an absolute just like a burning out of everything. But you also summed it up too, because everyone I talked to was going through something major, like since the end of August. And we talked right after that privately, and then September, and then October, and it feels like it really feels like the solar flash or the eye of the needle or something really, really finally changed. And I think what you're saying, I've experienced it in the last, really it's accelerated over time, but in the last couple of weeks, something comes in that's so loud and 3D, and you just look at it and go, that's just not my universe anymore, right? I mean, it's not a judgment. I got a really nasty string of texts from a relative that I didn't even realize had my number out of nowhere. And I just looked at it and I shook my head, and I ended up blocking the number, but I didn't have a charge. I love that person very much, but weird. It's a bit strange.
Yeah, it's almost like you see what happens is you go into that higher dimension. These ones that stay in that dimension there, they're not even aware that they're staying there. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to remember that a lot of people are still unconscious,
Yeah.
and they are playing the old roles out that they took on when they were in the 3D. But if you step out of that, okay, they cannot reach you.
Right.
Whatever, because their vibration is too low. Okay. So you are right out of their reach in some form or way where they cannot fathom quite what it is that about you that they cannot reach.
Right.
And in that moment, you are also at the time with your light is literally reflecting everything in them that is busy bringing this out in some way. And it's the behavior patterns, it's the fears, it's all that subconscious programming, which is now highlighted within themselves. So it's just going to burst out and say, okay, I just got it in because I can't really make peace with myself. I can't really love myself. And that's really the message there. I can't really love myself. So I've got to give it, sort of to you. It's like I'm trying to see my own reflection in you, but you're reflecting me back to myself. We've got to learn, as you're in a higher dimensional state, you start not taking anything personally anymore.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of that. We've had some amazing shows since I got back over here to Sedona, and we started back to our old schedule, but we've had I can't even really explain it, but I'd say all of the shows, but maybe 2 were women. I would say 75% of them never been on camera. I can't even tell you, each one of them is unique, but they have the same energy, and it's just mind-blowing and heart expanding. And they carry this, oh God, I wish I could just pull an example, but they carry this air about them where they're not they're just compassion. There's no judgment. You can tell they've been through it all,
Yeah.
and they tell their story and they don't even get upset. They just tell it, and they tell it with a smile and a laugh. And they're so powerful. And I think you're fully aware of this. You must have been aware of this for a long time, but it's actually here. They're actually here. And yesterday I watched about 10 minutes of a video by Kyrie Irving, who's an NBA basketball player. He's the one that wouldn't get vaccinated. And I just started watching. I thought, well, I've never actually listened to him speak, because they're giving him a lot of trouble. They've kicked him out of the league because it's just, you can tell they're after him. But I didn't realize why, because I watched his video, I put it on my page, and this 31-year-old who's got all the money in the world, who doesn't need to be doing, is talking to his generation and representing his generation and saying, using the words downloads. I've been talking to the elders this morning, star seeds. What's going on in the world is not what you think. I mean, this is a 31-year-old, and I'm with a lot of pull, and I'm thinking, wow, it's really going down now. It really is. You throw in that feminine mother energy with the young people, it's over.
It's open. It's open. I've had 2 conversations with young Black people, young men. And it's interesting, they were just like sent to me. And, I always feel that you always will be put in the right place at the right place, time to actually meet the souls and so on. And to me, it was just an eye-opening how the young people are realizing they have to bring a new world into form and being. It was just beautifully to listen to them, to have these conversations. And, I've noticed, the one was a car watch, like in South Africa, we have, these, they watch your car while you go somewhere else, so your car doesn't get stolen somewhere along the line. It's just life. Anyway, so he comes, I just had my window open and went to the sea, because I just wanted to see the waves and just breathe the new, the sea air, so on. And he comes and he says hello to me. And this was the most beautiful conversation. And he said to me, you know what? I came here from Natal because I wanted to look for a new life for myself. And then he says, but I don't want to just go for a job. I really want to do the work that I love doing. And he says, I want to uplift people, and I want to bring people into the consciousness of the beauty of life and how they can bring their life into form and being. So we had this most amazing conversation. And I said to him, do what you love and love what you do. And I said, the rewards will come in many ways for you, but go out and bring that message to the young people and bring it out to the world. And I said, this is how we're changing the world now. It was the most beautiful conversation. And then I realized how awake these people are, because they see that what was created beforehand is not working. They understand that. They're telling me. They said, we see it's in a mess. It's in a mess. But we don't want to create a mess. We want to create something that works. That's what they said. And to me, that whole mother energy came through, because it was a wow. It's obviously that there's a heart change here. There's a heart change. It's like they're seeing these old things do not work anymore. We've got to now create a new world. So they are much conscious. These were in their 20s.
Wow.
Now, say they're in their 20s. And look at that. They are realizing that this is not working anymore. I've got to find a new way of life. I've got to actually, and I said, yes, you've got to create it. And as you create it, you inspire others to also create it. And that to me is so important. I was just thinking yesterday morning, with women especially, women are coming to the fore now, in the forefront, because they have to. For so many generations and for so many lifetimes, women didn't have a voice. But now they're finding their voices. And it's time for women to speak up. It's not just speaking up, but also to living that love that they are in truth. And I'm talking to the men as well. Because the men often had, when I think of many of them, they were put in the army, or they were sort of, their heart were closed in some other form in the corporate world, where it's all about power plays and I've got to outbetter that somebody. I mean, competition. I've got to be better than this one. There is no competition at all. Mm-hmm. Because every soul slots in exactly where they are. And unfortunately, a lot of them always thought, I've got to be absolute, like this brilliant, sort of whatever. And I bring all these things into form and being that's mental, but I close my heart. Now that heart is opening and saying, no, that's not the way we're living anymore. And of course, this is going to bring soul searching. It's going to bring all those things to the fore that you've ever been programmed with. All the falsehoods, all the things we have been told by society which are not true. But then look at that and say, I'm not living that anymore. It's not my truth. I'm living my truth now. And as I live my truth, I actually give permission to everybody else to do that themselves. And nowhere is this going to come out as in relationships. When I think about it, since I was born, woman in that stage when I was still in school, there's very little that woman could be. They could be a nurse, they could be a teacher, and they could be a clerk or a secretary. That was about all. You couldn't be anything else. Okay. So this is a whole generation now. Women can be anything that they like now. It's a whole generation shift now. You get women everywhere. But now, with this gender defined, a lot of women try to be men. They're not men; they're women, mm-hmm. and it's the love that makes woman and the compassion that makes woman differently. And I've worked with women in the corporate world where they say to me, "I can't handle this anymore. It's not me." And I say, "Well, then be your authentic self, because that's what you need to bring into the world." And as the shift is happening, the voices start opening. They're starting to tell the truth, and they understand that this is where we all build it. But now you have a freedom to do that. Nothing is stopping you from living the truth. But unfortunately, women have been told you have to have a husband, you've got to have children. You can only be defined as a woman if you have had children. I have had that thrown in my face my whole life. You're not married, you haven't got children. And then and then they said, oh, like one said to me, we cannot invite you, for dinner because then I've got problems with my husband. And I sort of looked and myself, excuse me. and they never realized that you can be alone and never lonely.
That's right.
You can actually contribute so much to the world in total love and dedication, being on your own. You need not be defined by the man that you married, because so often they sacrifice themselves for the men in their lives and also for their children. But because society programmed them that way and said, you cannot be happy on your own. You cannot be happy if you haven't had children. But if you look at relationships, they all broke up some form or other where they're not working anymore. Why is it not working? Because the old patterns now are dissolved. In 5th of July, 2020, the new earth was fully born. And by divine dispensation, we were all freed from the law of karma. So all karma was wiped out. That's a gift the divine gave us in pure love. But now, if you still hang on to those old patterns, you still hang on to those old belief systems, you do not want to let go, then what happens? The spotlight's going to come right onto those places where you have not worked through this issue. And where you also understand that someone else can't make you happy. It's impossible. Because they're not even happy within themselves, most of them. How can they make you happy? Because they sit with their own issues. and those issues sometimes comes from family programming and from societal programming and not really their own. So what is this bringing out? It's putting the spotlight on the man. It's putting the spotlight on the woman. And it's saying, become real, truthful.
Mm-hmm.
Become truthful. Look at yourself and say, where is my woundedness? Where is my shadow? What do I need now to work on so that I can love myself in the deepest sense? Because this is bringing us back to the power of love and understanding that the new relationships will not have marriages. They will not have contracts. Why? Because with every paper that you sign, you literally sign, you make an oath while you're doing that and a vow. So this carries over to the next lifetime and next lifetime, next lifetime. And you meet this person, you say, oh, I own them. Meantime, it wasn't a beautiful owning. It wasn't one that was just in freedom of love. Once you understand and you start loving yourself in the deeper sense, you find that your inner joy is within you. Your inner happiness is within you. And whether you have somebody in your life or not in your life, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Because your happiness and your inner joy and your inner love is not dependent on that other person. Mm-hmm. You give them the freedom to be themselves just like they are. And you are free to be who you are in truth. And then trust and respect actually start growing, because now you can open yourself in truth to the core of your soul, and you can share your truth. And the other person will not go and try to fix you, right. Will not try to push you away and say, oh, I can't handle that. you know. But you see, if you sit in stillness with somebody, you will shut up and listen. Because you honor that person and you honor them to tell you the truth. Yeah. Just like you can tell the truth and they won't try to fix you or shout at you or whatever. But they will allow you to speak your truth. What happens now is if that communication comes and you start to understand that they have the issues, I've got my issues. I don't need to push them away because I can't handle their issues. But I give them the space so that they can handle that themselves. And that is so necessary at this time, that we give each other the space where they can work out their own things, okay? And get back into balance and harmony within themselves as much as you have to do that. Now we're going through this whole shift. So what happens? The minute you start getting into balance and you start getting into a higher dimensional state, suddenly you find that all these things don't matter anymore. Yeah. What used to really get me upset and pull my hair out, now I'm not pulling my hair out anymore. I'm just in the state of love because I love myself now. I found that beautiful peace and the divine and divinity within myself. And now I am in balance and harmony. And you know what's the beauty now? In the last 2 weeks, I've been told that not only are 15 chakras now opening, but the higher chakras are opening now. And those are the chakras of the fifth dimensional state, which is the soul state, where the divinity is fully within. Those chakras become one with the spinal column, so that the lightning rod, the solar rod, is completely activated. That means our higher transmissions are open, and we can communicate now intergalactically and universally again. You will find that so many UFOs and so on are making themselves visible now because humanity needs to understand that we are already in a new earth where we will travel space. We will go back to intergalactic frail because we can now tune into that consciousness where before we could not. And the higher your consciousness go, the more you will start downloading information. You will start understanding you're a universal citizen, you will start seeing these spaceships, you will start seeing the multidimensional beings, and you will start communicating with them again. It's not that they've never been there, they've always been there, but we couldn't get onto that level. So understand that as you are evolving now and you are getting into wholeness, all those faculties will start opening up. And that's why we need the alone time now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we cannot integrate this.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of solitude from July through even now, I guess. But so many couples broke up. Some got back together, some haven't yet. But the solitude, everybody, everywhere I turn, every time I talk to somebody, even the people coming on the show. And that's another thing that I've noticed with these women.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously very, very high frequency, and they have been for a long time, but their humanness, their humility, you know, like there was one on a couple days ago. I can't remember her name. She's from Nashville, Tennessee. She had an extraordinary story. She's obviously an extraordinary healer. She never tried to promote herself at all. Not that I would have minded. It was just, she was just so human. And like in the very first 5 minutes, she said, "Oh my God, these last 3 weeks." And this is a person who's helping people every day, who has the humility to say, basically, yeah, I'm still subjected to the human experience, and really saying the same thing everyone else is saying. And you put it all together, but it's just fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me. It makes me so proud to be a human being.
I actually said the other morning when I started realizing this, I actually had tears running down my cheeks, but they were tears of gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, the enormity of it, I think most people have not realized. And then I was actually shown, as I'm always shown, you know, that before we incarnated, nobody knew what was going to happen. Okay. By divine decree, it was said that the new earth would come into form and being in the new golden age. And we all volunteered to be here. There's not one soul that didn't say we didn't want to come, because if they didn't want to come, they wouldn't have incarnated. But I mean, also with these new children coming in, nobody knew how it will actually come out, because there's always a thing that some souls get lost along the way, but not really lost. They just forget who they in truth are. And as this happens, nobody knew how this would constellate into form and being. We were basically given a roadmap and said, well, this is what's going to happen. Okay. But it was always known that some will not wake up. Some will just, you know, dilly-dally along. Some will be awake, but then, you know, sort of like feel their way around. Some will be the way showers. Some will be the pathfinders. So everybody had a different role within this. But we were very much here in this last, since 1994, when 2004 was a big awakening, in 2012. A lot of us were suddenly sort of like put into this crisis situation, the dark nights of the soul, where we were waking up, but we didn't quite know how to handle it. And if I now look at it, I've changed light years since that time. I'm a different person now. But this whole transfiguration process is now happening in escalated ways. And that is why we are actually now transforming every minute, every second into a different person, in not a different, but a higher self. And with that, you know, you must remember we're still human. We still have to deal with the 3D world around us. And that is the constellation that we're going through. And it's actually, as we go through this, we shed all those parts that are no longer serving us. And through this all, we literally now lift it day by day into a new person and a new existence. And if you just look in 1 year's time, I mean, the other day I was just thinking to myself, wow, I've actually come light years since last year even. And even the last few months have just been a totally sort of like shift within myself in so many ways. And that is actually a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. And every day is a miracle in unfolding. And I just find that so often in the mornings when I do my morning prayers and my morning meditation, the energy that is now coming in is so powerful, like I've never, ever felt in my life before. And it is really, it's lifting us into a totally new existence. And that is why it's so important to bring light into your chakras, into your spine, into every single body, your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. Because so much of that stuckness, the crystalline that sits in your mental and emotional bodies, it matches not your physical body. Because, of all those things, all the unforgiveness, all the shame and blame and guilt, and whatever else that's been there, it needs to come to the fore now and just dissolve so we can just let go of it. And the more you let go, the more freer you become.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of this time. It's just such a miracle.
Yeah. And I noticed through, as far as I'm concerned, it's like baby steps coming out of all this, baby steps in relationship, baby steps in business, being open, letting love be free, not attached, but the connections are there. And what I've come into, some of this has been discussions that her and I have had, but it's all been one big download, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm getting is that this whole speaking your truth, I watch people, including myself, kind of push it too hard, but we didn't know better. We didn't know. And I was watching the dynamics of this, and I finally figured it out for myself, which is everybody wants to be heard. They want to express how they feel. That's it. And I realized that we've been trying to do that, especially as things got crazy, all of us, by projecting or raising our voice or throwing a fit or shutting down. And so to be able to have a conversation where you're not trying to fix someone, you're not in judgment, you're actually just listening to how they feel. And they can even tell you, or I could even tell you, I know this doesn't make sense. I'm not saying this is right, but this is what this makes me feel like. And that's a miracle to me. That's mind-blowing, because one thing that's really proved out more than ever has been every time we shift, or every time we go through something like this, which used to take a month or two, 4 or 5 years ago, there's just immediately a massive influx of light and code and revelation. And it is a miracle to me. It's miraculous, because we're just getting started.
Exactly. We're just getting started. And the beauty of it, if you ask every person on earth, doesn't matter who they are, said, what do you really want in life more than anything else? What's your dearest heart wish? The answer will always be to be loved for who and what I am.
Yeah.
To be loved for who and what I am. And you must remember that a lot of us grew up in dysfunctional families. Our parents did the best they could, whatever way you look at them. And it's always come back to me, that your parents could only love you in the degree that they also loved themselves.
Right.
And if they never had love in the deepest degree, how could they bring that to their children? Because they were trying their best in any case. And that is why, we also got to stop looking at our parents and say, you did that, and you did that. It's just pitting it to just take your parents sometimes like a little child in your arms, and just say, I love you, just the way you are. I understand that you had your own problems and your own feels and often felt not heard, but I want to just love you like a little child. I love you just the way you are, but also do it with yourself.
Yeah.
Also do it with yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is to me the greatest thing, is that divine connection, because the Divine Mother is really so making herself presence felt now. And the power of love is being beamed into us, into every cell and atom and every molecule of our existence. And it's that beautiful love that sees only the perfection within you. Because the Divine Father and the Divine Mother became one in order to create you. And the Divine Mother created all creation. There's an African proverb that says, for every man that makes it in the world, there was a mother who birthed him. In other words, it takes a feminine to birth the creation.
I know.
And now bringing that into the thing is where we start to understand that there's a mother within all of us as much as there's a father within all of us. There's a feminine within all of us as much as the masculine in all of us. And when we start bringing the sacredness, if we understand that we are sacred, we are holy in oneness with the Divine Father and the Divine Mother and the Holy Spirit, the Shekinah, then we also understand that even our physical body is a sacred temple, because that houses our soul. And it's very good sometimes just to quietly sit in absolute stillness and to just say this: I am holy, I am holy, I am holy, I am sacred, I am sacred, I am sacred. And affirming your own holiness and your own sacredness. And when I say holiness, I put a W in front of it, so it's holiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Understanding that you are whole. There's nothing missing. There's nothing wrong with you.
That's right.
You just choose to have some experiences in life, which are really soul lessons in mastery. I had such a laugh because, when I first started on my journey, I was in a group where the channels came through from Serapis Bey, who holds a white flame, and in Luxor, there's Lord Serapis Bey, is one of the ascended masters, very strict disciplinarian and taskmaster. And the channelings came through in a through her, whatever. And anyway, so I sort of like forgot about him, but when I got to, because I'm working with other masters anyway, with Lord Melchizedek and the High Order of Melchizedek, in any case. So when I started working with the white flame, Serapis Bey came through in it when I was in Egypt too. So now he's coming to the fore very prominently now because, all the pyramids and all the crystalline pyramid grids and all the energy systems of the other crystalline grids are all activated now to the fullest because they're merging, that the new earth has merged with them. So in other words, they lifted already into the higher dimensional state. Now, so I was actually thinking about Egypt the other day, because Egypt to me was a very tough tour, because it was really sort of tough in the degree of it, incredible heat, but also in what I was downloading and also experiencing. So I said to him, I didn't like Egypt. He said to me, don't worry about the liking. You went through your initiation there. And that was okay.
Don't worry about the liking.
Don't worry about that. You went through your initiation. But then about 2-3 weeks ago, I had my ex, sort of really getting in my face, because it was because of trying to get back into my space or whatever it is. But I knew in that stage that I now I could go this way or I could go that way. Now it was like just one of those ways. And I went right back into the heart of love, and I looked and I was shown at how I've grown, in all forms and expressions, and what the mastery lessons were. And then I knew that path has been done. It's I don't say because it is never done, because as a soul you're always as one. It doesn't matter. In the infinite core, you're never separated in any way. But sometimes the soul brings that lesson with it, you understand? And then I was literally shown that those lessons have been mastered. It's almost like that's gone. Okay, it's all right. Then an absolute peace. I knew, I've got to go this path now forward. And at this moment, that's not going to happen in whatever way it is, because I need to now go this path, and that's it. And as soon as I did that, Therapist Bay appeared and he said, "Thank you very much. You passed your initiation." So you've got to remember that often the challenges in life are because in the mystery schools, they always put you through initiations. But before you actually could go into that higher level, okay, you were always tested to the core. Why? Because you were tested about, did you actually learn to apply what you need to apply? In other words, what you learned now, do you apply it? And I remember 3 years ago, I had this vivid recall of me being in Delphi and as a training for my priestesshood. And I was thrown into a snake pit, okay, full of vipers. And and literally those vipers are, of course, very poisonous. But the only way that I came out of it alive was by conquering my fear of snakes. Once I actually conquered the fear, the snakes could bite me and nothing would happen.
Wow.
And that was one of the greatest lessons that the initiates had to go through. They were often like in the labyrinth that they had in Egypt, which was between the Giza pyramids, that had 3 levels. And when they were hidden doors, which when they applied the lessons, they could actually find easily and get out into the light again. Or when they panicked, okay, and fear sets in, they would be trap doors, and then they would literally fall to their death. Okay. Why I'm relating this is just to let you know that we all will be on tests in life, okay? And the tests will always come in challenges to see if you have mastered the lesson here that you're supposed to do. And once you master that lesson and you stand in your mastery, the lesson will go away, but the next lesson will come. It's even if you have attained mastery, okay, you still have higher degrees of mastery to attain, because the whole of the creation are tiers. It's a spiral, okay? And every time you hit the next octave, that's when the tests come. Because now you've got to apply all that you've learned here to gain momentum so you can break through into the next octave.
Yes.
At the moment, that is exactly what is happening with all of us.
Yes, it is. It sure is. I don't know if I want to laugh or cry, just like, but yeah, this really is what's happened. We talked after Soulogy Fest, and we did a show about the whole scenario, and that what you just described is exactly what happened 10 years before. Now it happens again, and so many other things, by the way, happening that happened 10 years ago for so many people. I know that, but yeah, that's one thing, if that's a representative of what we're all doing. I mean, we're going through what we went through before, and it's not touching us. The snake's biting and we can't feel it, right?
No, you can't. That to me is always a degree of mastery. that you attain, where nothing can actually change your equilibrium.
Yes.
In other words, you are so centered in that balance that no matter what happens in the world, it's not affecting you. And that's exactly the state we need to be really cultivate now. Yeah. Because the old three is now going to throw their tantrums. They're going to throw all the tools and toys out of the cot. They're going to try to scare everybody in whatever form or way. Pay them no attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the minute that fear gets in, what happens? You start doubting yourself, you start doubting other people, you start going into whatever it is, our survival mode. But we got to get out of that survival mode.
Yeah.
And I've always been told that we will be looked after. And you must remember, if you go back to where we would just go back to it. And somebody actually moaned, my friend Susan, who's just been in the Sinai desert, was just telling me that she had the most amazing experiences there. And also one of the most holiest places on earth is right there in Sinai. There's some Mount Ives. That's also why there's an Orthodox church monastery there. Anyway, it's St. Catherine's Monastery. But what she was saying something, and I really thought myself, this is so symbolic for this time because it's so apt. She was saying, because there's a lot of people that now put the fear in that people should hoard food and that they should have storage things because things will not be, food will not be available, etc. She said, but look at what happened to the Israelites. They were 40 years in the desert, and then the manna came down. But what is the manna in real life? Is the prana.
Right.
You can exist on the life force alone. That's one of the Tibetan teachings that they've always had, that if you reach your mastery, you don't need any food. You can actually live on the life force alone. What if that is not the lesson that we all need to master now?
Well, I don't know. I think it's leading that way. These patterns, right? 10 years ago, I was on the streets and I lost everything. But after I talked to you and I came back to Sedona, as you know, because you forecasted it, everything just started going nuts. And I actually went on a 6-day sabbatical, which I've never done in 10 years. And when I came back, and the whole time I was gone, I'm being shown everything. It's just like 10 years ago. Everything's going to be taken away from you. Everyone. And I knew it. And I watched everything: emotion, finances, structure. And when I came back, everything just blew up again. And but that's what I understood. It was, I literally went to nothing. And I'm still climbing my way out. But the difference is, and I know this has got to be with other people as well. I watched, I guess I got the intel. This is what's coming. You can't imagine it no matter how much they tell you. And I just watched Rome burn. And it affected everything. And I didn't lose it. I made a choice to continue, because I actually came back and I said, I may stop doing this altogether. Or if I do it, then I'm going to fill my role to the best of my ability, which I've chosen to do. And somehow or another, the universal is showing me how this state of equilibrium and compassion, humility, integrity, it's directly associated to abundance. And I played with this at the universe's direction and collaboration for years, but I'm seeing it in a way I've never seen it. And it's again, it's just the first part of this. I've had the prophecies for myself, or for what I'm involved in. I've seen the level of abundance over the years. It's mind-blowing, but it doesn't compare at all to what little glimpses I've seen in the last 2 weeks. It just takes my breath away.
I've been told in the last few months now that unless you become nothing, you can't access everything. And that's been repeating itself. And I realize as long as I start clinging to any notion of who I should be, what I should do, or think I am something, then every time something will happen, it will push me right back into the state where I surrender. And I realize I am everything, but I need to be no thing in order to be everything.
Yeah.
And I find that also these days, you cannot really plan, I can't put my schedule in, because as soon as I put my schedule in, I'm finding that things just go their own way. Yeah. And it's okay. I'm finding I needn't be in control anymore. Let go of it, control. We always think, we were so programmed, that everything has got to be exactly like that. That's the way it is, it's got to function, it's got to be right. I've just now let go and realized that is it. It's not, I've got to become the flow of life. And that's why the waters are speaking so much to us. There's really a cleansing by waters now. We had the cleansing, purification by fire. Now we're in the water. What is water? Water is fluids. It flows. It will always find its way around obstacles or over obstacles, or even find a hole in it if it needs to bore a hole in it. That's what the waters are telling us. But the waters also cleanse and clean. Our whole body is water. So what this means basically for us is that we've got to also start to understand that we need to be able to flow into that higher dimension without needing to always structure everything, like to have every bolt and every knot, and this goes in and then goes that. To me, it's the heart now to love every moment, even of needing to dissolve. To love every moment of being that nothingness. What I found is the minute that if I'm in that nothingness, I feel the power of divine love and the power of divine presence more than in any other states.
Yeah.
Because then the power, the omniversal power can come through you and literally start radiating out to everybody else. You just become the vessel through all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
So
had
you must underestimate that, because even as you broadcast this, you're not just broadcasting through the internet, you are also broadcasting through yourself. That's why when when the lower body and the higher body become as one, you become radiant like the sun. You start radiating out. And all the light workers now are broadcasting out on such a high frequency. And that is exactly part of the master plan. And nothing can stop this. Because if everybody radiates out, the rest of humanity is affected, whether they are conscious of this or not.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, and some of the practitioners that have been coming on have been saying, some of them have been saying that they're getting clients that just woke up. And some of them been saying like their family is asking them questions for the first time. So I don't know, this last one, it just feels like the eye of the needle. It feels like if there was a solar flash, I think it just happened or it's happening. Because there's been very few people I've talked to that have just been absolutely unconscious or disconnected. I think if there's anything I've seen that's not yet into alignment with what you're talking about, or a person or a situation shown to me, it's not that they're stuck on the old, it's more like they're stuck on the identities that we brought in as part of our ascension. You know, our connections, our past lives. Not that they don't have their place, but there's the only thing I'm saying is, like, I saw a couple of people that are still locked in there. They're not quite fully present. And I'm seeing a lot of people becoming fully present. And also having had conversations or parts of conversations where the two of us are actually channeling. It's actually the higher self speaking to the higher self in the human body. And I'm not saying it's the whole conversation, but they're just moments. I get them. Like right now, I can barely contain myself. I don't know what's going on, but it always happens with you. But that's the other thing too. I'm so aware of all the coding coming in. Every time I sit down with somebody and do a show, especially since the last month, there's just so much coming in that's not even involving the words at all.
Yes.
Like, I mean, talking to you right now, I have so many flashbacks, so many incarnations that we've collaborated on. I'm just like, it's just taking my breath away. I can barely even contain myself. So you got to talk.
You know,
right?
we've been prepared for this for many, many lifetimes.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the shining ones and the illumined ones are two soul groups that consists of 144,000 souls. They are a cluster soul group. In other words, you've got the shining ones and the illumined ones are one, but they actually work together. And they have always been the master teachers, and they've been the prophets. They have been the healers in a lot of ways, but they also have been the keepers of certain keys and codes of creation in the first creation. They work all over the universe. When I go and meet with the cosmic councils and so on, there are many tiers of these master souls, which I won't go in there because most people won't understand it anyway. If they don't need to understand it, their soul knows anyway. But what this always comes on is that your soul, even though it's here on earth, your other soul parts are working on the cosmic councils and the universal councils. All right. You are never just working here. You are working on multiple dimensional states. I have, in the last few years, always been shown where I'm working and what I'm working at. Okay. That's why when you wake up in the morning and you're very tired, you've been working all day and all night. You know, often the souls that are highly evolved will be pulled in to work and help the souls that are stuck on the earth in whatever way, because we have the earthly experience. You know, a highly evolved master can come on earth, but if they've never had an earthly life, they do not understand human beings. Okay. Because they've never been through all the trials and tribulations that you have to be here on earth, and also the density. Okay. That's why when this whole master plan now came into fulfillment, that we prepared for thousands of years, where did they go to? They go to the souls that have been here on earth before, like you and me. And they said, please, we need you. We need you. Come. You're the ground crew. You've got to incarnate again. And I remember a few years ago, I actually said, what the heck am I doing on earth again? And they said, oh, you didn't need to come, but we asked you to come. I said, forget it, please, I'm not going to get here again.
Oh,
But what I'm getting at is that in times of great darkness, in times when catastrophes happen, who came and incarnated on earth were the shining ones and the illumined ones. They kept humanity alive in those places, bringing the knowledge back, bringing the wisdom back, helping souls to refine themselves. And nowhere has this happened more than with the fall of Atlantis. Please get this. We have often been persecuted. We've lost our lives along the way, but they can kill this vessel, but they can never kill the soul. The soul lives on. And with every experience, your soul has gained a mastery because you have actually experienced the depths of darkness as much as you have experienced the heights of light. But to balance each other out. Now, at this time, when this huge masses energy is coming in keys and codes and they're downloading them every single moment now, your soul is being awakened in many, many levels. I find it now that when I do my white flame courses on a Wednesday, the transmissions are just coming through. Much, much more powerful than they did last year when I first started it. And the tones are coming through, the sacred tones. There is more tones now that are being released. And much of them we cannot hear with our ears as yet, but you can hear them with your inner ear. They are so powerful that the 33 octaves of tones are being returned to us. And remember that every octave used to have 12 tones, not just 7, as now in our scale, musical scale. So this is unprecedented. This is a new creation on a very high frequency band. We are being lifted beyond anything that has ever been before. Yet our soul knows it. Because we're universal souls. It's not that our soul doesn't know it, the soul knows it. That is why it's so important to connect to your soul and always to listen to your inner guidance. That is your navigation tool. That is what you are born with. It's every time it's with you. You cannot lose it. It's always there. To shut the outside noise out and go always back to your core and say, please, where is my highest guidance? What does my heart tell me to do? Where is my truth? What I need to live my truth. And suddenly you realize that through this all, you walk in the company of heavens. You will never be alone because you have all the company of heavens are governed, because you must remember it's not just this planet that's ascending. The solar system is ascending. The galaxy is ascending, and all the star systems in this universe is ascending into a higher state. So we're all going through this whole transition. This planet is one that fell into the lowest, but it doesn't mean that it's not ascending. It's going ascending because Jupiter and Mars and all those planets are ascending. Venus is ascending. Venus always has been one of those planets that kept the love alive in our planet. They're the planet of love. And the Venetians have been here really helping us. Many of them are walking amongst us that we don't even know where they are. They look just like us.
Wow.
And so have many of the intergalactic races. Okay. I know people here that actually had a whole commune going on where their master was of another planet, or whatever, and actually admitted it. And some of them, they say that they come and stay here on Earth, and we're finished, they go. It was finding. So, the thing is, all these things have always been kept from us. They went into the secret files, somewhere they've never been told us. It's just like UFOs. They've always been here since the beginning, never been not here. They've got space stations on the earth all over the place. But it's just that you know, we were so shut down and so indoctrinated and things. Now suddenly the shutters are going out and we're going into a higher dimensional state. Okay. Now our consciousness rises. Now we can start communicating with them again, because the communication is telepathically. Okay. And we will get back in the next few years up to 2032 to the state where we don't need computers anymore. We don't need the internet anymore, because we can access the universal energy fields where all information is stored in. We're returning to that universal fray. But before we can do that, we've got to transform into this. This is transfiguration. Okay, it's uncomfortable for all of us, me included, okay? But what to me is always the beauty of it, when I'm shown the bigger picture. And if you want to, you can just ask your Aya guides and say, please show me the bigger picture. Show me where I am and where I'm fitting into this whole, and they will.
Yeah.
But most people don't ask for it, you know, and you may ask for it, and you will always be given to the degree that you can handle it, you know. And you must remember that sometimes when this is given to you, what happens? The alarm systems go off. Why? Because you must remember our schooling system and our educational system are archaic. You know, we were like told like parrots, you know, repeat what I've told you, okay? And then we give you a test so that you will know that what you repeated all the time is actually, you're good at that, you know. They didn't allow you to think. They didn't allow you to go into your heart and actually go and seek the truth yourself. So what is happening now? When the alarm system goes off, what happens? It's because of this programming that you've had. And you must remember that everything that you watch, everything that you listen to, everything that you see is programmed into you, whether you're conscious of it or not. So be careful what you watch on television. Be careful what you listen to. Be careful it all goes into your subconscious mind. Your programming. We're being reprogrammed now. So that all that is false is now being dissolved, so that you can get right back into the truth of existence, the universal truth. The truth is that we never were separated on this planet. Every jolly planet in this solar system have got high civilizations inside them, not on the outside, inside them. Even the sun has got civilizations in them. Okay.
No.
It happened because of the wars of heaven and the outer ones in. That's why in Mars you see all the destructions going on there. They went inside, they're not outside. So what we when in Atlantis time, there was intergalactic travel. That's why the Japanese and the Chinese came from other systems, and they were allowed to colonize, they were allowed to settle on Earth. Okay, and you go back to the mythology, they tell you that. So the Hopi Indians tell you that. They said we came from the Pleiades. So we were taught inside the earth when all the catastrophes, with a lot of them went inside the earth. They're tunnel systems, they're great things. There's a whole inner civilization in earth. But are we ever told that? No, it's gone into the secret files, you know, with a big X on it.
It's probably in that 50 miles of underground Vatican library storage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. It's just all so amazing. These, just like this, what you're talking about in the last 3 or 4 minutes, just that coming out into the public awareness is going to, by itself, would just change everyone's lives. And it's just a little bit of it. Atlantis, inner earth.
You know, if you realize that your soul is a universal being, you're limitless.
That's right.
You're limitless. You understand that any confines that any system or anything on earth can put down there is just illusion.
Right.
There are no confines. If you infinite a soul, it means there's infinite possibilities, is infinite things you can manifest into form and being. And once you understand that the universal laws apply to everything, whether it's quantum physics or science or whatever, it's the same laws. And we are now stepping into that law of resonance, where everything that resonates with you will be drawn to you because you naturally resonate with it. In other words, it's like attract like. Okay.
Right,
That's
right.
why the like-minded souls are being pulled together. And also you start to understand that as a master, I take full responsibility for everything that I'm broadcasting out there.
That's right.
I am responsible. I cannot point the finger and say, you did it. No, I allowed it.
That's right.
I allowed it. So, in other words, you start becoming careful with what you wish to create and how you wish to create it. And you always go back into your heart and you feel into it and say, what is it that I really would love to bring to humanity for the new golden age that will benefit everybody, that will benefit the greater whole, that will be an act of love. If we would all start living that way, can you imagine how the world would change?
I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I'm going to do 2 more shows today.
Am I blowing your mind? I actually find, that multidimensionality is now here.
Yeah.
I am often, when I'm half asleep, I'm already in the intergalactic fleet spaceships. So I know, I'm consciously there, I'm consciously here, so I can understand.
Yeah.
The veils have dropped. There's no veils anymore. So it just shows you that you can be in any place in the universe anytime you want to. And if you go back to the ancient mystery school teachings, they knew it. The inner teachings knew that. That's why they actually went through all the disciplines, or they did, in mastery, so that you could access that higher state. I was listening to Greg Braden the other day where he was saying that he never quite understood, why the Buddhists were always doing all these chanting, and the meditations and things they were doing, until they actually he went into a monastery right up in Tibet, and he started speaking to these nuns and the monks that were there. And then they started showing him, and they said, when they do that, they go into a higher state, they access everything that they want to. And that's why they do the mandalas, because they then focus what they learned into form and being. So their knowledge comes in, so that every piece of that mandala speaks of the consciousness that they've gained.
Wow. Wow. Think about that. And think about what so many people are doing in these communities. They download something, they connect, download, and create something.
Exactly.
Which is,
and that is opening up to all of us now, that we can access that, and that the higher knowledge is now available for us to co-create in the new earth and the new golden age.
Yeah.
And that is what we all prepared now, so that we can download that and say, okay, now we bring this into form and being.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm a mess. I can't even talk. But I'm noticing that with what I talked to you a little bit about Soulogy when we talked. and it's, it's so amazing because even like you were saying about the structure or the old business methods, even if they get introduced into this environment where all these people are joining to play and create, they don't stick. Like even now, I look back over the last 10 days, and 10 days ago, I had to send an email out to initiate the next part of everything, and it's gone nowhere. And there's no panic. I just know that the time's not right, that the energy is affecting everyone, and that somehow or another, this Trinity energy or this golden age energy is really palpable, and it has a say and it has a hand in it. I don't know how to explain it, but I guess what I'm saying is I can see how new creations are being made, and they're nothing. In fact, they're not only nothing like what we've created before,
Yeah,
but there's nothing in its composition itself from before. I'm even seeing it happen in music, and just different ways of where we thought there was only one way to do something. I went to an open mic here in Sedona 2 nights ago, and it was all young people, like 20 to 35. And again, I went because of the way they wrote it. And I knew it wasn't going to be like a typical open mic. And it wasn't. They just sat in a circle and they just started to free flow, like whatever they want to say. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And I'd never seen that before.
I'm always told that we're preparing you for a life greater than you can ever imagine. They said, you are going to have something greater than you can imagine. Yeah. And that is why, I lately, whenever I plan something, I try to always be flexible with that. I can have something coming to mind that I know I need to create into form and being, but it's going to be more or greater than I can even imagine, because you must remember that the world we we grow in, and that we're familiar with even now, is the one that was that we are living in. To imagine a world over that, which is, I'm sort of like an inkling of it because of my galactic things that I can tune into. I still cannot quite see how this will constellate into form and being, but it's there already. The structures are there. It's just a matter that we need to raise our consciousness still into that level, and then it will click into form and being, but manifest in a completely, perhaps different way than we think it would manifest.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, the synchronicities in life now are so, they're all like hourly, I mean, it's the way things flow, the way things happen, it's becoming normal. Something falls out, something fills in. It's crazy. It's very cool, and you can see it. Yeah, I think given all this stuff that we went through, this whatever this was, there's been something right alongside the whole thing, no matter how uncomfortable it might have gotten, that you can see the thread of what you're talking about.
It's so true, because I'm so brought back, often when I go back to the core, something is given to me, and I go back sometimes just doing a little bit of research, or information will just come to me, and about these scenes, for instance, and also about the mystery schools and what they already knew, but all the esoteric teachings that that were withheld from, because they went underground, because they were so persecuted. This knowledge was never given to everybody. It was just because you also had to go through the initiations, you understand, got that degree of mastery that you could actually apply what you were learning in a lot of ways. And to me, what we are going through in Transfiguration,
yes,
Jesus already was doing, Mary Magdalene was doing it. If you look at the Tibetans, they knew it. If you knew at the Zoroastrians, they were already having that knowledge, but not all of them applied it. It was the masters within that knew how to apply that. So this has never been like in the mainstream, because there was only few individuals that could actually attain that degree of mastery. Okay. Yeah. But the amazing thing now with all of this is that we now as a collective are going through this, which has never happened before.
Yes.
Think of that gift. Think of that gift.
Yeah. No, I do. And I also see how fast the code is being exchanged, how contagious, like super contagious that is. And then to look at the world, it's like looking at a person or looking at yourself in the past. You see the distortion, you see the programs, and you have nothing but compassion. I can't look at things that I used to, not because I don't want to see it. I'm talking about like things on the world stage, but it's because I see it for what it is, and there's nothing else to see.
Exactly. Because I mean, we have been all saints and sinners, you know. There's not one of us that hasn't been a sinner somewhere along the line. And I mean sinner now, I'm not meaning like the church, like the bloom or whatever else sometimes, which they did at the fire and brimstone preachings that were once given. But it means basically, it means mistakes, but the mistakes were not mistakes. They were learning curves.
Right.
Okay. They were learning curves. It's almost like when we did the 3D experiment, we could basically experiment anything. We could take on any experiences that we chose, but they were experiences, because when you go to the depths, you know, where you literally go into the depth of darkness, where you can't see the light, that's an experience. It's like, that's why in Greek mythology, it's about going into the underworld.
Right.
You know, but on the other hand, the underworld is also the womb of the mother, where you're gestating. So it depends on which way you're looking at it.
Exactly. It's a chicken and the egg.
Yes.
It's exactly right. You know, and I know I told you about this, but I just have to mention it again. Right in that parking lot next door in late July, meeting that part of the mother, we would call the dark feminine. Like, she showed me that was her. She doesn't even know. This is her womb. This is her the great void, or the holy darkness. And that's what that was all about. Was, you know, because I'm standing there, and that power is what? The purest, most powerful, scariest. Everything is. And it was kind of like she said to me, well, you're not dying, son. You're just go, you know, just open your arms, open your heart, and when you come out the other side, you'll be born again. So they used to say life is a you know what, then you die. Now I say life is a you know what, and you're born.
Yeah, because it's when you have no fear for death, you realize you just shed your vessel, it is the body.
Yeah.
Your soul carries on. This is just a vessel. It's nothing else. That's why the Tibetan monks actually could get to that stage of enlightenment, whatever, where they simply would just dissolve their body. And they say all that was left of the body were the nails. And I can't remember what else. It was just two parts. So in other words, they would, to me, that when I read that, I thought myself, aha, that's exactly what it is. Because you do not need that physical vessel anymore. You go absolutely in your light body.
Wow.
It's so, to me, that shows you that these pockets of information have always been preserved all over the world.
Yeah.
There were always those that kept that alive in their own way, and what's now coming out is that all these souls that kept all this now is when Atlantis fell and the high priesthood was realizing that through their prophecies, because they were targeted by the black magi because they wanted to also control them like they did the rest of them. And they knew that they had to preserve the knowledge. Okay. So what they did is like they sent out their priests to different parts of the world as it was then. Remember, it changed a lot. And said you start outposts everywhere so that you would survive the floods, but you would survive with the teachings too. So the Kahunas went to Hawaii, and the Tibetans were already in Tibet, and the Egyptians was Thoth. He brought them all there to that springs. So all of these were actually preserved in pockets. Okay. Right. And when the floods came, they also went underground, a lot of them, and kept people alive there. When they got out of them, they were the teachers and so on. And then the illumined ones and the shining ones incarnated to help them, through that whole phase. So what went on with the duality now, with all of this, those souls said, okay, with this flood coming, we will now store that knowledge within our souls. Mm-hmm. So that when the time comes that this whole transfiguration happens, they will have access to that and bring it in to humanity. Wow. So I was so astounded the other day when actually the Qatar Book of Love was sort of brought into a totally different sort of spiel for me. When it was a documentary on Gaia channel, where it went into this and say that actually it's always seen as the keys and codes of creation that is given to you at the time when you need to access it. Wow. So it's actually not a book as we understand it, but it is the knowledge that is given to you as you need it to bring it into form and being.
Is that called the Book of Love or the Book of Life?
It's called the Book of Love.
Book of Love. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to check that.
Yeah, but it's to me when all the jigsaw puzzle pieces came together, I understood it in that form. Because when the Qatars were so very, very persecuted, I mean, the greatest genocide ever happened. And the Templars, I mean, they were one and the same. They all knew about the Book of Love. But what they never understood is that Book of Love was never a physical one. You understand? It was an esoteric one.
Right. Well, I'm going to read it.
Read it. Yeah.
Do you have anything coming up that you'd like to tell us about? Like, you have any courses or anything?
Well, I'm busy with my White Flame course now. I want to start a sacred circle, where we all gather as light workers, around every sort of once a month. And even if it is in silent and sacred silence, that we can just sort of like bring it all together, and we really start to bring that sacred circle of hearts together so that we can co-create the new golden age in a beautiful way and so on. At the moment, I'm still waiting that this all comes into form and being in the way that I can present it. I'm always trying to, but then I almost get stopped with it, or it's not coming to the full as it should. But that's the next step that I feel is coming in a lot of ways, because you know, a lot of us now is in a much higher frequency band, and it's almost like the way that we did things before is now being lifted into a new way. And that new way is busy unfolding as we go on. And we're going to go through immense changes now until the end of the year. And then 2023 is going to be a year where we being lifted even higher than that. So it's the next octave. So we're now hitting that octave here. So now we've got to go gain momentum so that we can push through that.
Well, I hope it's a little bit more easy and graceful. But we just got to do whatever we got to do.
Yeah, with love, and also with a sense of humor, because it's you know, I'm always told that we need to now ask, because you know, the higher state, the enlightened state, the illumined state, is a state of joy. It's a state where you create beauty, but you also find the deep joy, the bliss in life. And, you know, we can ask for it.
Yes.
We can ask for it. And to me, that's the greatest, you know, to wake up in the morning, your heart is so filled with joy and so filled with knowing that this day is going to be a miracle day, and it's filled with joy. And go and you will find that if you start expecting to find joy everywhere, it sort of comes your way. You know, even in little things. You know, we always think to big things. No, it comes in little moments of that joy lighting upon your shoulders, and you say, thank you. And you are filled with joy.
Like now. Like the last hour and a half. Oh my gosh. Yes, goodness, beauty, and truth, she is. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do for us.
Thank you. And bless everybody, and may you all find the deepest illumination within you, because you are all illumined beings. It's just illumined souls. It's just a matter of remembering in higher degrees. Thank you. And thank you, Todd, for making that possible. Thank you. And for all that you are, as you are. And everything will fall into place as it should. It's just that at the moment, some souls are not quite ready for the whatever you envision, but it will come into form and being as it should, with great love. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you later. Thank you so much.